Hello and welcome to our Book Expo America Indie Author Fringe. I'm Orna Ross, Director of the Alliance of Independent Authors, talking to you here from my hotel bedroom in Chicago. And I'm here with Jay Atalawi, who's in Turkey. Hi, Jay.
Oh.
And David Penny, who's holding the fort in the UK. Hi, David.
Hi, Orna. Hi, Jay.
Hi everyone, and thanks so much for being here. We've had a hectic few days at BEA. It's been really interesting, and this year BEA came from Chicago. Every so often BEA takes itself away from New York City and heads out somewhere around the United States of America. It's been 12 years though since they did so, and so it's a return to Chicago this year, and it meant that it was a smaller BEA, a more intimate BEA than it would be if it was in the usual Javits Center in New York City, but I think a very interesting one, and we were really pleased about one thing. We've been talking to BEA for a couple of years now, and thanks to the sort of insider, Sally Daydecker, who has put on a lot of information and a lot of pressure, you could say, internally to get BEA to take on board what's happening in the author space. You Publish You, which is their self-publishing conference, has finally come out of the ghetto. If you've been to You Publish You in the past, you'll know that it was in the basement, and it was held on a Saturday when the conference was over. So there was always a feeling that self-publishing was very much relegated to the sidelines. This year, for the first time, it was on the conference floor. And so for the first time, the Alliance was there with a table, and really happy to meet our Midwestern members, and also the services and so on that allow authors to do what they do. So I think that was the biggest news self-publishing wise from BEA. So yeah, we've got a great lineup today from some of the sessions that we held on the You Publish You stage and in the various conferences that were going on around. BEA is huge, and there are lots of different conferences that run throughout the 3 days. So we've got 5 or 6 sessions in audio brought to you directly from BEA, some of the best education that was there self-publishing wise, we think. So that's happening later on. We've got Kim Bookless, Mark Coker. That's my pile of books falling over behind me. And anyway, lots and lots of speakers. You can see who's coming up by looking at our agenda, and each session goes live once an hour for the next 24 hours. David, you've been kind of bringing in the content and talking to the speakers. Perhaps you talk to us a little bit about some of the highlights of what people can expect today.
Sure. Just hold on 1 second, because our link isn't working, so I've just fixed it. So I think now we really are live, which is good. Yeah, there's just so much stuff, and it's strange actually being as close to it as Jay and I are putting it all together, and like you are doing interviews, and it's all a little bit fraught because we're trying to organize everybody and round everybody up, and then suddenly it's 4 o'clock or 10 a.m. in Chicago, and we can sit back and just enjoy the conference. And as you say, there's so many great things coming up. A couple of my highlights is Emily Labram, who has put a great little piece together that gives us some background on why she thinks trade publishing isn't everything it's cracked up to be. Something I'd probably agree with, particularly in light of some of the things that have come out this week.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting, of course, is that Emily worked for HarperCollins and is one of the very few people who's actually kind of speaking out, if you like, about concerns within trade publishing. So yeah, I must say her piece is a highlight for me too. What else have we got?
Yeah, we've got Holly Ward's on, slightly more laid back than she was last year, so that's an interesting one. And the Sean Platt and Johnny Truant is fantastic, because those two always are, really. They're a force of nature, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we've got Mark Coker, who's one of the good guys, because he turns up every time we ask him. and he's always very good value. So that's an interesting one. And the one I enjoyed the most is the one that finishes at 9 o'clock tomorrow, which was the Dan Blank one. I've not come across Dan before, but I really got on with him. And I say at the end of our interview, I could have carried on talking all day, and literally I could have done. I thought he was great.
Dan is wonderful. He really is. I love his attitude. He really gets the sort of longevity of the author-reader relationship and the heart and soul of it. He's just fantastic on all of that. So I'm really looking forward. I haven't actually tuned into that talk yet, so I'm really looking forward to hearing you two. I knew you'd get on really well. Okay, Jay, can you fill us in on all the other excitements? Because, of course, it's not just about content. We also have fabulous competitions, giveaways, and all sorts of goodies for our conference attendees. And Jay is the person who pulls all of that together. I do not know how. What's coming up on that front, Jay?
Well, first off, as the conference is started now, we've just closed the entries for the cover competition. So then that's going to give our judges 24 hours to choose best fiction cover, best non-fiction cover, and best series cover. And those will be announced at the closing spaces here in 24 hours' time, and you'll know who'll have won the Dragon Dictate speech-to-text software, and then we're going to award an overall winner as well, and they'll get a Kobo e-reader. So lots of our speakers are also offering giveaways via rafflecopters, and these rafflecopters are at the bottom of each of the sessions. So when the session goes live, after you've read the content, watched the videos, listen to the podcast, at the bottom of the posts will be a rafflecopter that you can enter by sharing the content on your social media, by commenting on our hot seat. So all of the comments are closed on each one of the posts, but we are consolidating all of the comments into one central hot seat, which is our speaker and sponsor booth. So if you've got any questions, you've got any insights, any things that you really resonated with you during the sessions, head on over to the hot seat. That's going to be manned for the next 24 hours by various people around the globe. So as the time zones shift, we'll have different people supporting that. So there was lots of comments last time. It was a great way for people to interact with speakers and sponsors. So we brought that back again. And then if you're on Twitter, our hashtag is IAF2016. Last time we trended on Twitter, so we want to try and do that again. There's click to tweets on each of the articles. So while you're in there enjoying the content, click to tweet and share the content, or share the content on Facebook to get us out there and spread the word as much as possible.
Yeah, fantastic. That really is what it's all about, because you know, the reason we do these indie author fringe conferences is because the big publishing conferences are not as good as they might be at actually covering what's going on in the author space from a self-publishing perspective. Not as good as they might be is a bit of a euphemism. So, and of course, they are doing some great things, and it's also important that we're aware of what's going on in the wider publishing industry. So that's the second reason that we do it, is to bring that great information to you, anything that is relevant for us, anything we can kind of take and use in our own way to our own advantage as indie authors. And I would like to thank now our sponsors who make all of this possible, in the sense of keeping it free for you. I mean, it's the hard work of Jay and David in the background that also helps to do that. And of course, the generosity of our speakers who give their time and their information free of charge. But our sponsors too, and of course we'd never have anybody as a sponsor for the Indie Author Fringe that we didn't think was doing a fantastic job for authors already, and these people all are. So our gold sponsor is Ingram Spark. They were there at BEA. Their new logo is self-publishing like a pro, and they had self-publishers lining up around their booth for the entire 3 days. And Ingram Spark is particularly good if you are looking at print books, and they have given us a fantastic offer exclusive to Indie Author Fringe attendees. It's going to last until May 31st, and essentially it's free setup on their platform, which is worth quite a lot of money if you've got a few books. And even if you're already set up on Ingram Spark, now is the time to maybe set up a hardback or a different format, something, you know, that you've been considering for a while but haven't got round to. Do it before May 31st, and it's free of charge. And we are delighted to have Ingram Spark as our gold sponsor of all 3 conferences this year. And we have 2 silver sponsors in place. One is Nuance, the people who are responsible for Dragon Naturally Speaking, the speech-to-text software, which we think is just amazing. I started using speech-to-text ages ago, and I really couldn't do what I do without it. I use Dragon because I find it, you know, vastly superior to any of the others. So we would really encourage all indie authors to use speech-to-text in some way in their work. And our other silver sponsor is Publish Drive, a brand new distributor that you probably haven't heard of, located in Hungary in Europe, and now publishing into over 100 countries, 400 stores. A very interesting new arrival to the market, and we'd encourage you to check them out. Our bronze sponsor is Kobo, and they've contributed to this conference in lots of ways, with both a session from Mark Lefebvre, their self-publishing and customer relations manager. Also, they've done some great author interviews with some fantastic and inspiring indie authors, and they are giving, of course, a grand prize of one of their devices for our competition winner. And then we have session sponsors, many of whom are all also doing their own sessions. We have Publish, who were with us last time, a great marketing tool for writers, which actually brings the story behind the story to your readers. We have Where Writers Win, Sherry Stauch, who helps writers in all sorts of different ways and supports their endeavours, particularly around marketing. Really good stuff. Draft Digital, one of our favourite distributors, doing fantastic work all over. PickFu, which is a really interesting book title and cover testing platform that you might like to take a look at. Again, a new player on the market and very interesting. They're sponsoring Holly Ward's session. There's Books Go Social from long-time ally member and all-round Mr. Twitter and Mr. Social, Lawrence O'Brien from Dublin, and Lawrence's platform is very interesting also. And finally, Nielsen at the other end of the spectrum. Nielsen is the International Book Standard numbering, the ISBN agency in the UK, but also doing lots of other things and becoming more and more interested in working with authors and getting some accurate figures about author publishing out there. Another silly report this week about ebooks sales falling and print books. Yeah, no. Anyway, I feel a blog post coming on, but Nielsen are the people who are trying to track what's really happening in the market, and they're also bringing out a new interesting marketing tool called Book to Look, a little application that you put on your website which allows you to show samples of your work and do social and so on. So they're going to be talking a bit about that on their sponsor page if you want to check that out. So thank you, as I said, so much to our sponsors from all of us here. They allow us, as I said, to keep the conference free, and this conference is organised by authors for authors. So nothing more to be said, really, I don't think. All 3 of us wish you a fantastic day and hope you really enjoy the content. Please do spread the word. Let other authors know how fabulous it is to be a self-publishing author. Yes, you can trade publish as well, but every author should self-publish at least once to see just how great it is and how much easier it is than you probably think. So over now to our speakers, and we'll see you in the hot seat.
Bye.